If you're able, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, please.
Johnson.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Mikulski.
Here.
Polika. Here. Leaks May.
Here. To the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I move we amend the agenda to add item 7M to the consent agenda. This item is the approval of the sidewalk hardship applications recommended by the Sidewalk Hardship Committee.
Support.
Johnson.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Polika. Yes. Leaks May.
Yes. Right. Now we're moving on to our presentations. And first will be item 4A, update on the November 5th, 2024 general election.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm just here to provide you with an update on sort of important deadlines that are coming up regarding the November 5th, 2024 general election, and I'm here to answer any questions as well. So, just to provide you with a little bit of an overview of elections here in the city of Ferndale. We have about 17,000 registered voters. In the last 12 months, we've had 5 elections, starting from the local elections in November of 2023, all the way up through the presidential general election we'll have here in just a few weeks. Our office normally is the clerk, myself, our deputy clerk, Dave Movilla, and Randy Horn. For this election specifically, we bring on a couple extra folks to help us out with all the absentee voter processing. So you can see in that picture there, Reggie Sutherland and James Joe-Coy also are in our office right now helping us out. For this election specifically, we hire about 100 election inspectors between the polling locations, receiving board, and absentee voter counting board. In the past election, we hired about 65 for the August election and about 55 for the February presidential primary. So we do bring on a lot more folks for the presidential election to help manage lines. And we also have a second electronic poll book, which we'll talk about here in a second. So this year specifically, we've made a lot of improvements or changes to our processes. As I mentioned before, we do have 2 additional election assistants helping us out right now. And then the increase of the election inspectors at each of our polling locations. Well, between our 9 precincts, we're probably going to have between 8 and 10 poll workers at each one of those precincts, depending on the size and space, basically. And then we will have 2 electronic poll books at each precinct. That's where the voter gets checked in. We just verify that they're registered to vote already at that precinct. Normally in the past, we used to have 1 electronic poll book. Beginning in August, we tried to deploy, actually beginning in May, we started deploying 2 at each location so we could process voters twice as fast. Our goal is to just have as few lines or as small of lines as possible. And so that was our decision to start doing that. We do anticipate that we're just going to continue this process through all future elections as well. We did establish our absentee voter counting board. Previous to the August election, we used to process our absentee voter ballots at the polling locations. Our precinct election workers would process those absentee voter ballots. It would turn out to be a very late night for them in many cases. So we brought back the absentee voter counting board. They process all ballots returned to us after 4 p.m. on Monday, November 4th, all the way through 8 p.m. on election day. And those are processed right here in the city council chambers. And then next, we have the ballot box rebranding. You all might have seen a social media post about that recently. A big thanks to Riley and our communications department, as well as our DPW, for helping us, put these together in-house. They now stand out a lot more. They're easier to see when you're walking by the front of City Hall. And we're hoping that folks will use these a lot more often instead of coming all the way up to the City Hall upstairs to drop their ballots off, though they're still welcome to do so. And then the polling location signage, a lot of our signage that we had on our, at our polling locations rather, probably weren't very user-friendly. They're hard to read. Some of the lettering was coming off, and some of the font was very small. So again, we worked with the communications department and made those signs stand out a lot more, and hoping that that makes it a little bit easier for voters to identify their polling locations. And then finally, beginning in this August election, we started deploying large carts for all of our election equipment. This makes our process a lot more secure. We put locks on all those carts. They're dropped off the evening before at all of our precincts, and it's also a lot easier for our Department of Public Works when they're helping us deliver all of our equipment to our locations. I know it's saved a lot of time on their end by just putting all this into cages and have them ready for them to be dropped off. All right, so for this 2024 November election, what's on the ballot? Basically, there's a lot on the ballot. There's a partisan section of the ballot, which kind of has federal, state, county, and local candidates on there, all the way up from the electors of the president and vice president, down to the Hazel Park City School Board, as well as the Ferndale School Board and the library boards. There's a lot of stuff on that ballot this time around. We also have nonpartisan positions as well, including Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Circuit, Probate District judges. Those are all on the ballot as well. And then finally, there are 3 proposals on everybody's ballot in the city of Ferndale. One is the Oakland County Parks and Recreation millage. One is the City of Ferndale Heavily Operating Millage Restoration, and one is the City of Ferndale Charter Amendment. So all 3 of those are on all 9 precincts of the ballots of the 9 precincts. If voters do want to see exactly what's on their ballot, they can always just go to michigan.gov/vote, and there's a place there that says what's on the ballot. You just plug in your precinct number, the city that you live in, the county, and it'll show you everything that's on your ballot. If you don't know your precinct number, feel free to call the city clerk's office, and we'd love to help you out. All right, so there are sort of 3 main options for voting now. The first one I'm going to talk about is the in-person early voting. This was a new thing that we began doing in November 2023, based off of Proposal 2 in November of 2022, which voters passed. So now we are required by law to have at least 9 days of early voting for any election that has state or federal candidates on it, but we will also do it for local elections as well, just to keep it consistent and not to confuse any voters. Early voting for this election starts on October 26th, which is a Saturday, and ends on Sunday, November 3rd. It's open from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. every day, with the exception of Thursday, October 31st, or Halloween. It is 12 to 8 o'clock on that night. You can go to one of 2 locations, the Hazel Park Recreation Center, which most of our folks who like to vote early like to go there. But there's also an option to go to the Waterford Oaks Activity Center, because we do partner with Oakland County, City of Hazel Park, and Royal Oak Township. And so if you want to vote there, you're also welcome to vote there as well. The next method of voting would be absentee voting. As of today, we've sent out about 6,088 ballots and have had 1,708 ballots returned back to us, or about 28%. Historically, we see about 50% of the ballots returned prior to Election Day and about the other 50% on Election Day. We'd love it if people can submit them earlier, if they feel confident about how they want to vote, just because it makes our processes a little bit earlier, or it makes our process a little bit easier by having those ballots in earlier. Let's see, you can drop off the absentee voter ballots at the ballot drop boxes. We do have 2 locations. One of them is at City Hall, just located outside of this building here. And then there's also one of the dot parking garage as you exit the dot parking garage. It stands out quite a bit now, which is great. You could drive up to that location. And then finally, you could drop off at the Ferndale City Hall during regular hours, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And we have a box upstairs at the top of the staircase, and then you could also hand the ballot to us if you'd like as well. And finally, if you want to, you can also cast the absentee voter ballot at a polling location or early voting site. This is pretty new. We've only had that for one other election. So if you do have an absentee voter ballot, you prefer to vote it in person, you're welcome to do that as well. Finally, the in-person election day voting, which is the more traditional voting method that we're probably used to. This will only occur on November 5th, 2024, Election Day. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Voting occurs at your assigned polling location. So here's a map right here of all the polling locations in the city of Ferndale. It's also on our website. If you have any questions about it, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to help you out. If you're not already registered to vote, you do have to register to vote at City Hall on Election Day. So do not go to your assigned polling location if you're not already registered. And if you register within 14 days prior to an election, you actually have to come and do that in person at City Hall with proof of residency. If you do it online, it's going to defer your voter registration to the day after the election, which would prevent you from voting in that method. So please come to City Hall if you aren't already registered. And then again, absentee voter ballots cast at assigned polling locations is also an option too. All right, so just some important dates here. For the 2024 general election, on September 25th, that was when we mailed out the first large batch of ballots that we had, which if you requested an absentee voter ballot early, you should have that in the mail by now. And then October 22nd through November 5th, again, in-proof registration with proof of residency. So again, if you register to vote in that time period, please come to do it at City Hall in person. And then in-person early voting occurs October 26th through November 3rd. The deadline to request absentee voter ballot being mailed to the voter is Friday, November 1st. So if you want that absentee voter ballot mailed to you, make sure you do it by November 1st. If you want to come into our office, that deadline is actually November 4th. And then on November 2nd as well, we will be open, this City Hall will be open just for election work on that Saturday. We'll be open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you want an absentee voter ballot to update your voter registration, whatever that might be, we'll be here to help you out with that. And then on November 5th, per approval from this city manager, we are only going to be open at City Hall for election business. We are very, very busy upstairs registering voters on election day, and we take up a lot of space. And so all other, roles that the City Hall would normally have, with permitting or paying your bills, will be closed on election day for anything else besides election specific items. And City Hall will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. that day for all election items. And again, just to reiterate, the deadline to return your absentee voter ballot is 8 p.m. on election night. If you would like more information, requesting an absentee ballot, registering to vote, there are many things that you could do looking up your sample ballot. You could do all that on mi.gov/vote. And there are many, many things you could do and view on that webpage. You can even see if your absentee voter ballot has been received or not, or if you rejected it for a signature issue. That all can be seen on mi.gov/vote. All right, you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. All right. So our next presentation, I'm happy to announce, is the Oakland County Health Network and Ferndale Police Department co-responder program presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure to introduce our partnership with the Oakland Community Health Network to create a co-responder program pairing our officers from Royal Oak, Ferndale, Madison Heights, and Hazel Park with a licensed social worker to help us deal with people, individuals, and families in crisis, and provide and complement our officers and kind of enhance our response and really be a more full service police department. We've already seen the benefits of having these two young ladies accompanying our officers on these calls. I was just at our Citizens Police Academy, and one of the attendees out of the blue brought up how they witnessed firsthand the impact having a social worker respond alongside our officer when it comes to somebody in crisis. Someone down near, resident near Garbett Park was having a conversation with a neighbor about whether they should call the police or not call the police when they saw someone clearly in crisis in the park, sobbing, alone. There's something wrong, but they didn't know quite what to do. And one of the residents was adamant that I'm going to call the police. And the other resident kind of debated, is that the right thing to do? We don't want this person in trouble, or, there's still that stigma attached to law enforcement that they might not be the right tool to respond. And in this case, the one resident said, well, I already called the police, so it's happening whether you want it to or not. And one of our officers responded along with Sabrina, who you're about to meet, and they were able to talk to this person and calm her down, and whether or not she wanted to accept any resources or not, she chose not to, but it left an impact on the residents that watched it happen. They saw someone being handled tenderly when they're in a moment of crisis, and it was really nice to get that, that feedback from the community that was completely unsolicited at our Citizens Academy. So we're already seeing the benefits. So it's my pleasure to introduce Tricia, Alyssa, and Sabrina from Oakland Community Health Network to tell you a little bit about their background in this program. So, Tricia.
Hello, good evening. My name is Tricia Zizumbo. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Oakland Community Health Network. We are the county's community mental health authority. We serve about 29,000 people a year, and we focus on individuals and provide services and supports for individuals with mental health, substance use disorder, intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism. Today, we're going to talk specifically just about our co-responder program, which I am extremely proud of. In my prior job at OCHN, I was the Director of Justice, which we are very fortunate in our county that our community mental health, our behavioral health system, is one of the only ones in the state with a justice department. So we have a full team of about, we're growing, so almost 30 staff now that are dedicated to individuals who intersect with the justice system and where we can provide supports and resources and be able to divert them into treatment and services. One of our programs is the co-responder program. We have been doing this since August of 2021, where we started in Auburn Hills, Bloomfield, and Birmingham. We are now have grown to 7 co-responders in 11 communities, soon to be 8 in 15 communities, and we continue to grow. So we were really fortunate that Joe and all the other city managers in the 4 communities had been meeting and talking for a while to bring this to your community. So we were lucky enough to receive ARPA funding from the Board of Commissioners to help fund this program, and we were able to hire 2 co-responders who started this summer. We do put them through a rigorous onboarding and training. It's a 6 to 8 week training program where they do a lot of clinical trainings for OCHN. They do ride-alongs with law enforcement, and we continue their training throughout their position. So I have some stats here I want to share with you. Before I get in there, I guess I should name all the communities that we do have co-responders. So obviously we have our 2 here in Ferndale, Hazel Park, Madison Heights, and Royal Oak. We have 2 that cover Auburn Hills, Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Rochester Hills. We have 1 with the Sheriff's Department in Pontiac. We have 1 in Troy. We have 1 in Waterford, and soon to be, I hope I get the 4 W's right, Wixom Lake, Wolverine Lake, White Lake, and Walled Lake. Thank you. The 4 W's always get me. So we're really excited about that. We're partnering with Board of Commissioners and the sheriffs to look, again, at additional co-responders and always looking for ways that we can increase and support the funding of these positions. So since our program started in August of 2021, we've received over 4,500 referrals. So individuals that our co-responders have interacted with and assisted. Through that, they may receive service, they may receive resources, they might be transported to our Resource and Crisis Center that's on the county campus. There we have our crisis provider for adults, which is Common Ground. We have a crisis provider for youth, which is the new Oakland Family Center, and we have our Youth and Family Crisis Center there as well. They may be petitioned for mental health, they may be taken to hospitalization, they may be reconnected with their case manager or supports coordinator if they're already seeing a provider within our network, or they may just need someone to talk to. So our co-responders are well trained and well versed. That 8-week training we send them through, along with that whole justice team kind of behind them as well. So we have seen just over 4,500. Here in Ferndale, our co-responders with the 4 communities work a staggered schedule. So you have a co-responder here 7 days a week. They overlap on Tuesdays. They work 410 shift, which is 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we worked very closely with our chiefs to look at the call data and look at all the data that the police department had so that we could tailor the schedules to the data. And we continue to look at that on every 12-month basis to see if we need to shift the hours of our co-responders to meet the needs of the community. So Sabrina and Alyssa are dispatched, or sometimes they may self-dispatch. They are in their own vehicles. Some of our co-responders in Pontiac, they ride with the deputy. Some others receive a city car, which is what happens in Troy. But the majority of all of our other co-responders receive a stipend where they utilize their own vehicle and they respond to the scene where law enforcement is. So they have radios, they'll have vests, say they didn't wear them today, but you'll see them in there that say social worker on them. They also have t-shirts and uniforms so that they look distinctly different than law enforcement. That was something that we spent a long time working on, that we didn't want them to look like they were officers because they're not officers. We consulted the individuals that we serve. We have multiple committees through OCHN with individuals with lived experience. And so we took this to them about what would you like to see them in that would help, distinguish them from law enforcement. They wear the vest for safety, but we do have everything where it says social worker or community core, which stands for co-responder. So when Sabrina and Alyssa or the co-responders are not on shift, the officers are able to submit a referral for if they arrive to a scene or they interact with someone who they feel may benefit from having contact with the co-responder. So every single one of our communities has a special referral form, which will go to the co-responders, and they'll follow up within 24 to 48 hours and be able to connect with those individuals. So we started accepting referrals on September 2nd, and so far we've received over 100 for all 4 communities, which includes 20 for Ferndale. And some highlights are we had about 30% of those calls who did remain in the community. They were able to de-escalate and be able to remain in the community. 35%, the co-responders are still working with those individuals. We had just 2% that were petitioned for further assessment, and out of those, 0 were arrested. We have done a partnership over the last few years with Wayne State University and the Center for Behavioral Health and Justice, where we did an intensive look back over 2 years of data in the first 4 communities that we started. We were really happy to see that in that data and looking at that, when a co-responder is on site, the use of force drops dramatically, and that includes the use of handcuffs. We see a lot of kind of qualitative responses from our officers and from our chiefs that have a co-responder already. So we see that the officers tend to begin to use the social workers for themselves as well. We do train them in CISM and peer support so that we can support officer wellness and officer mental health. And we're seeing just a really our partnerships with law enforcement have really gotten closer and really blossomed. I always joke with my chiefs that it's a marriage. We might not agree on everything every day, but we have the same goal in mind. We really want to serve and help the people of our community. So with that, I am going to turn it over to who wants to start. Alyssa, you're sitting the closest, and have Alyssa and then Sabrina introduce themselves, share a little bit about them, and some success stories from here in Ferndale. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alyssa Waters. Trisha did a fantastic job of introducing us, so you kind of know what we do. Just a little bit background about me. I am actually coming from a hospital out in Ann Arbor, a little bit further from here, where I've kind of specialized in both palliative care and hospice, as well as pediatric social work. So that's kind of where I've spent my last couple of years. Kind of found my heart here. I was, talking to my old boss today about how this is where my heart was meant to be. So happy to be here, happy to be working alongside our officers. A success story. It's kind of funny. I'm taking my pediatrics work all the way out to here because my 2 biggest success stories here are actually with children actually about the same age who have been involved in the justice system and working through issues with school, and being able to connect them with OCHN and having all of the resources to back us has been really helpful. So we're really excited to keep it going, and I'm about a month in and really seeing the benefits already play out. So thanks for having us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sabrina Filoni. I'm the other co-responder. As far as my background is concerned, I come from a criminal justice social work background. I actually was working in the prison system in Canada prior to this, and then I saw this come up, and I figured that this might be a good jump for me to get over here. So I want to say how amazing it's been so far. I'm completely welcomed by the officers, by all of the chiefs, and it's been wonderful to be able to service the community in this way and have everybody welcome us. As far as success stories are concerned, I think honestly a lot of my success is coming from just seeing the extra added service and the community support surrounding what we're doing. So even being on scene, sometimes the point of us being there is not always to change the outcome. The outcome is going to be, it is what it is. However, if we can be there to make the process a little bit easier, not only on our officers, but also on the people that we serve, that's going to be a win in my book every single time. So seeing that play out and seeing, the officers turn to us and appreciate our support has been amazing. And, I think that this program is the start of something really, really great. So thank you guys for having us, and we're really looking forward to moving forward with you guys. Thank you.
Council have any questions for myself or Oakland Community Health Network? No? Well,
I will just say, Chief, I will say that I'm just glad about the collaboration. I know it's important. And the fact that we have these individuals out there working with you all side by side to help de-escalate situations and help people who need is, like I think Sabrina mentioned, a win and win. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
yeah, they definitely fill a gap. Those soft skills and those experiences that they have, along with a lot of education in the background, they really are complementing our response now daily. And without these regional partnerships, cities like Ferndale would not be able to push forward on these types of initiatives without significant financial backing. So it really is a testament to our partnerships with these communities that surround us.
There's also testament to the police department to bring this in, extra added resources. So pat yourself on the back too. So we appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you.
Chief, through the chair, I'd like to just Tricia has been amazing. So each of the 4 city managers, we worked on this for about 12 months, and Tricia's just fantastic to help lead us and kind of help chauffeur us through the way, because it's a complicated subject, but each manager and each chief wanted to lead on this and be one of the leading innovative communities, early adopters, if you will. So we're really proud of this. So thank you, Tricia.
Thank you.
Another exciting presentation will be item 4C, Shepherd House Project Update from Full Circle.
Yeah, all right, cool. Who knows where I put it? Wrong one.
Hello, my name is Christian Yuxi. Thanks, Joe, for having me to talk about Shepherd House. My name is Christian Yuxi. I'm a real estate project manager with Full Circle Communities. We're a mission-driven affordable housing developer with a growing portfolio in Michigan. Before I start the presentation, I want to say that the support from Ferndale has been instrumental for this project to happen. And also during construction, it's been a very efficient inspection process and building permitting process. So out of other projects that I've worked in, this has been one of the smoothest processes. So I really enjoy working in Ferndale. Shepherd House is a 53-unit affordable housing development. It is striving to create an affirmative and inclusive environment for LGBTQ elders. And we worked, the property manager is KMG and the service coordinator is CHN. And we work with other community partners to provide services to the residents. Let's see. So a little bit about the project. The total development cost was 21.5 million. It has a 2.3 million senior mortgage, 1.8 million of developer equity with a grant in there. We also received a grant from Eagle, which the city helped put the application in for 700,000, not million. So we also got Oakland County Home Funds of 1 million, and then the tax credit equity from MISTA. And so these are various partners that financial partners that supported the project. So one of the really instrumental portions to get this project done was the pilot. It both gives us a scoring competitive advantage in the 9% application for MISTA, and then also just it financially stabilizes the property to be able to function in the next 45 years. So thank you again for providing that. And then I would also note that Full Circle Communities uses 75% of its developer fee and then operating income to provide services for its residents. So that's kind of what the savings from the pilot will go to. So as you can see here, the project is, these projects take a long time. So we initially started conversations in 2018, and we put in an application with MISTA in the beginning of 2011, and we received an award at the end of 2021. And then COVID happened. There's a lot of cost things that were happening, but eventually we started construction in 2023, and then we are finishing the building right now. So this is the building here. It has some community amenities that are available to the community. It has a memorial garden with a raised bed planters, and also a community room that is free for use for the community. These are the resident amenities. It has parking, electric car charging, bike storage. We received input from the community advocates, and they one of the concerns that they had was security. So there's security bollards incorporated into the design, an audio intercom system, some security cameras as well. These are like the resident amenity areas. It has free Wi-Fi, building Wi-Fi. It has a green certification, and also has an outdoor patio. There's a small fitness room and also a laundry room in each room. The hallways have a unique identifier color, and the entries has personalized unit entries. These are the units. So the units have owner-paid utilities. They also have free Wi-Fi. They have the standard appliances of dishwasher, refrigerator, microwave, and accessible kitchens. These are living rooms. They have big windows for natural light. They also have vinyl wood-like floor finish, and then roller shade treatments. The showers, or the bathrooms, have both shower and tub options, and the bathrooms are accessible bathrooms that can be adapted to if someone needs accessible features. So the building is 53 units. The unit mix is 41 one-bedrooms and 12 two-bedrooms. These are samples of the floor plans. And so, yeah, the building itself is 53 units, and it's a fully affordable housing, and it serves a variety of income levels. There are 34 affordable units that hit 30, 50, and 60 AMI income levels. And then also project-based vouchers provided by MISTA, and also the Ferndale Housing Commission provided vouchers as well. These are the kind of the income levels, the max income levels for a 1 and a 2 family bedroom unit. So these are the affordable units. You can kind of see the rents for a 30 EMI is like, for a 1 bedroom, 540, for a 2 bedroom, 648, for a 60 EMI, 1 bedroom is 1,080, and then for a 2 bedroom, 1,296. And these are just kind of the max incomes for the rental assistance units. Yeah. So the building is almost close to completion. We started accepting applications September 26th. We received around 70 applications, and people are still submitting applications. Our target is to move people in at the beginning of November. If there's any questions.
I want to mention that you didn't mention about the pet-friendly area, which I thought was pretty neat. So
Yeah.
there's an area in the community space where the dog, what was it, Greg? The dogs can kind of drink water and just a space where they can just
Well,
kind
they
of have
can
in there.
do their business.
They can do their business. Right? Yeah,
Well, thank you.
it's like a little kennel park.
Yeah, it's a little dog area. Yeah.
Through the chair, I wanted to also just acknowledge the Housing Commission's contribution. They've committed 8 vouchers to support this project as well, and also credit to Oakland County and the state of Michigan for their layers of support too.
And I'm very, very pleased to see this project coming to completion. Prior to being elected to this council, I was on the Housing Commission, and one of the last votes I took on that commission was to give final approval to the vouchers, and it's something I'd been pushing for a long time. So this project has been a dream of mine to see come to completion, and it just sort of reiterates, it's important to me because this is going to so cheesy. I grew up in a very conservative place in Missouri, and the fact that I now live and serve in a community where someone like me, a member of the LGBTQ community, is cared for from cradle to grave. That there are amenities and services here, and we're reaching out to the seniors now, and I know that there's a possibility for me to age in place in this community, and it means the world to me, and it means the world to a lot of residents, so thank you.
And I just want to thank you, Christian, for your tour of the council members. And I just hope that anyone who's touring tomorrow, you enjoy the tour as much as we did. I mean, it was very thorough. I'm excited that it's coming. I'm excited that you have the wraparound services on site for individuals who need it. So a great addition to Ferndale. So thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have our call to audience, where members of the audience, you can come and line up at the podium and speak about anything on and off the agenda. We ask that you state your name and your residence, and I'm opening it up to call to audience right now.
Hi, I'm Sharon Chess, president of the Community Concert Band, Ferndale Community Concert Band. We're having our very first concert of our 10th season this coming Sunday. So that's October 20th at 3 o'clock in Ferndale High School. We're excited to be celebrating our 10th season this year, and how we're going to do that is we are going to be performing in Orchestra Hall on March 30th. At 3 o'clock p.m. So we're excited about that, and more news will be coming forward. The M1 Jazz Collective is also going to be playing with FCCB, and they have a pretty fabulous audience as well, so we're looking for a good attendance, and I hope to see our council people and audience members in attendance. And I think that's about it. So thank you very much. Oh, I did want to, Quinn Ziegler, she's an amazing volunteer for the community, and she's been working so diligently on the Headley Amendment. And we just owe her an awful lot of gratitude for her dedication, and her husband, Andrew, for his support with all the work that she's doing. So I hope the Headley passes, because I hate to see all her hard work, go down the drain. But she is passionate about the cause, and my husband and I support the Headley as well. So thank you. See you on Election Day.
Thank you, Sharon. Going once, going twice. All right, call to audience is closed, and we are moving on to our public hearing. Item 6A, Our public hearing for the Sidewalk Special Assessment District.
This is going to look a lot like the presentation we saw in May when this was passed. The sidewalk assessment repair process timeline, again, is a long 21-step process. Begins in March with inspections and bid opening. April, we send a letter to residents. There's a notice of hearing. Those go out 4/15, 4/22. There's a public hearing in May. We award the bid. The contract was signed in June. August, September, construction occurs. Construction was complete this September, October. We still have a few small punch list items that the contractor is required to return for. Final amounts were sent in October. Hardship committee met today, and hopefully today council approves the final roll at this public hearing. Again, just to show the maps, we did 23 and 2024. The city's on a 10-year cycle for maintenance. We do 2 districts every other year. In the 2024 sidewalk repair program, by the numbers, the program did 22,374 square feet of sidewalk. That's 895 flags that were replaced, 91 tree roots were ground, 109 joints were horizontal saw cuts. The estimated assessment that we had, that Giffords and Webster put together in May was $220,014. We ended up at a total assessment of $219,441.70, so that is pretty spot on. The estimated city cost for the sidewalks, mostly at Marie, Toddlot, and I'm drawing a blank on this second park, total up to $10,975. Estimated, and then we're a little over that at $11,877 for the actual cost. And that's really about it. I do have a few things that I should have included, and I apologize, but the total estimated cost for all of the properties is about $497 per property. That includes commercial. If we remove the top 12 commercial properties, that drops the average down to about $410 per property that had an assessed value. And I'll remind you that this is a 10-year program, so it's about $41 annually if you space it out over 10 years. That's for a barrier-free sidewalk that's easily accessible for all of our residents. And then one more item that I will pitch is what we're seeing industry-wide is a little bit higher of a cost. We got $9 per square foot for 4-inch, and I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that in the industry and in the market, you're seeing a lot at $12 per square inch. So if we just added $3 per square inch to the $22,000 that we touched in this program, that would be about $67,000. So really, just by bundling all these items together, everyone that's on this assessment is saving money on what they would get in the market.
Open it up to council if you have any questions regarding the public hearing.
Oh, but you have to open up the public
I should
hearing.
have opened it up to, I also opened it up to the public if you have any questions regarding what you just heard. You want to come up to the podium?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis Augustin, 1550 Spencer. You say you're grinding down the tree roots in that? Well, that's been long overdue, because some of you who remember or even know of Councilman Baker, who used to be on here, was not too happy with the fact that I made a comment concerning that the city had was basically making money because my neighbor next door, every time there was a sidewalk had to be redone because of the tree, big, huge tree. Got nailed for 3 flags every time. Now, this time he was in there and he got, tree roots were ground. So far, everything looks smooth in there. We'll see what happens after that. Boy, if that had been me, I'd have been screaming. I would have been screaming. Somebody would have had to take a nice tree down, you know, and just take it down, because it was costing my neighbor, it was costing them a lot of money. Money that the city was getting, you know, and if it was just, you know, it was him, actually 3 different owners, and all 3 of them have been tagged for sidewalk improvements. And if that's what the city was collecting up until just recently, the city made a lot of money. You know, they took a lot of money out of people's pockets, because there's a lot of trees out there, and I've lived in Ferndale for a lot of years, for over 40 years. And there's a lot of trees out there that have uprooted some sidewalk slabs and that. And like I said, Councilman Baker didn't like my comments when I made that about, you know, people, the city council making money. And that's what they did, is they made money, because there were, you know, people were paying out of their pockets. It costed me at that time $90 a flag, because mine was a 6-inch, 2 6-inch ones for the driveway. You know, I can just imagine what these other people were paying, because these were just regular sidewalk flags, you know, 4-inchers, supposedly. My last one wasn't 4-inch. And it was 3. You know, a 2x4 is 1.5 inches by 3.5. And those guys did not have a 2x4. And now, because that $90 a flag that I paid for years ago, or quite a few years ago, okay, was because of a little bit of water that gathered between the 2 driveways. My driveways are like this, my neighbor and me. Well, now the one flag has got, you know, what I call Lake Ferndale. Okay. But I'm really glad to see that there's some improvements being made with these trees, because now all of a sudden, you know, the city can't just keep taking money from people. Because, you know, it's got to be their pocketbooks too. You know, you got to be thinking of their pocketbooks.
Thank you.
Mine too.
And I will just plug our residential tree program. We make sure not to use trees that are too large to fit now in between the sidewalk and curb. Some of these older trees are pretty large, so we try to make sure that they're sized appropriate now for a more diverse urban canopy.
Thank you, James. Any questions again from council? All right, thank you.
Motion to approve the final, motion to approve the final cost estimates for the sidewalk special assessment district 2023-2024 and apply the special assessment to the 2024 winter tax roll for property owners who have not paid by November 8th, 2024, unless granted deferment by the Sidewalk Hardship Committee as submitted by the DPW Director.
Second.
Polika?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Mikulski?
Yes.
Leaksmay?
Yes. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Item 7A, approval of the September 23rd, 2024 meeting minutes. 7B, approval of the one-year agreement with Oak Park, Pleasant Ridge, Huntington Woods, Lathrop Village, and Sacra to use the Southwest Storage Yard as a leaf transfer site, and authorize the Director of Public Works to sign the agreement pending approval of the city attorney as submitted by the DPW Director. 7C, approval of the special event permit for Jingle Mingle Underground Holiday Jingle and Mingle Underground Holiday Market on November 16th and 17th of this year. Approval of the 6-month contract extension with Macro Connect. 7E, approval to pre-authorize election worker payroll for the November 2024 general election in the amount to not exceed $30,000. 7F, approval to backfill one DPW labor position. 7G, approval of surge protector replacement at Albany Road Booster Station by the Great Lakes Power and Lighting for a not to exceed cost of $7,250. 7H, approval to change of the change order to the Martin Road Recreational Facility conceptual design. 7I, approval of UPS battery backup replacements for the police department at City Hall. 7J, approval of the Ferndale fiscal year 25 first quarter budget amendment. 7K, approval of price reduction to acquire the former Comerica Bank property at 1000 East 9 Mile Road. 7L, approval of bills and payrolls as submitted by the Finance Director and subject to review by the Council Finance Committee. And 7M, approval of the Sidewalk Hardship Committee approval of the Sidewalk Hardship applications recommended by the Sidewalk Hardship Committee. Who will make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Polika,
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. Now we're moving on to our regular agenda, which is item 8A, Public Safety Facility Headquarters Feasibility Study Reports.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. I'll introduce you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Council approved a contract with Partners in Architecture in the spring to help us draft a to help us conduct an updated facility assessment for the Police Department and Fire Station 2, and to develop some preliminary conceptual spacing and design layout for proposed public safety headquarters that is in reference with the ballot initiatives in November. I introduce Michael Malone, Principal with Partners in Architecture. Michael will walk you through the process to date.
Thanks, Joseph. Thanks, Council and members of the board here to have us to give you an update. Also with me is Matthew Showalter. He's one of our senior project architects who kind of worked on the project with us. I'll try to keep it brief and to the point. I mean, I could talk all night if you'd like, but we'll try to keep a high-level summary. So as Joe mentioned, yes, we were brought on board in the spring to kind of analyze your existing facility, your police and fire facilities, as well as develop a conceptual idea for what could be. So kind of identifying any deficiencies that you currently have in your facilities, and then, you know, what could a new facility contain as far as appropriate spaces to today's standards, and then using this site that we're talking about right at 9 Mile and Troy Street there. So with any project, we try to develop an overall mission and goals for the project, and these are kind of our guiding pathways for, you know, how we analyze the recommendations that we're bringing before you. Overall, you know, creating a state-of-the-art facility that will serve you well into the future. Obviously, a very efficient facility, sustainable, driven for promoting the health and safety of your occupants, the police and fire, as well as the public. So there's some real deficiencies in your current operations, current facilities, not your operations, that we're going to kind of highlight some of those today. And, you know, the buildings are old, right? Your police is over 60 years old, and I think your fire is close to 70 years, or maybe in that range. So they've lived their life. Standards today are much different now than they were back when those were built. Codes have changed. There's been a lot of evolution and How do you treat contaminants, especially in a fire station? When you come back from an event, how do you actually separate those contaminants, keeping the individuals safe and healthy? So as part of our guidebook, let's say, we use a lot of industry standards, national standards that we measure our program documents against. The NFPA is a guiding factor in many building cases, but especially in the fire department. There's a lot of national trends that have been occurring over the last 10, 20 years that we're kind of lacking in your facilities now. So we measure what you currently have against where should we be with our facilities, and this is just several diagrams here, but there's many tools that we use to kind of give us a pathway to move forward. The fire station number 2, we looked at, it's a 2-story facility, roughly 5,400 square feet, a 3-bay, kind of back into the facility. It's not a drive-through type arrangement based on the site configuration. You have a tower in the back, and it's pretty tight. We'll look at a couple of things here. So the apparatus bay, the equipment of today is much larger than it is or was back in the day. So we have a couple photos. We'll show you that there's very little room between the equipment to navigate, let alone service the vehicles. The dorm spaces are really inadequate. I think there's a furnace in one of these spaces that is really not up to today's standards, let alone providing appropriate space for an individual, whether you're a male or female. It's kind of all just jumbled together. We create individual dorm spaces now that are separated and provide appropriate flexibility for use well into the future. Showers and decontamination areas. Well, decontamination is really non-existent in this facility. There are new standards that we follow with every station that we design, trying to separate out those carcinogens that could be brought into the station, keeping away from the living and sleeping areas. Storage of PPE gear is a real issue. The new standard, or the current standard, is to have a separate enclosed space, well ventilated for storage, in lieu of an open space that may be attached or open to the apparatus bay. It's really you really don't recommend that moving forward. And navigating this site is very tight, so backing into the apparatus bays is really, again, not recommended if we can give you an alternative. A couple of the photographs, I'm sure you've seen the station, you've probably been in there. The photo to the left, you see how tight the space is there. That's really not good, right? In an emergency, you got to zip in and out of there, and it's really hard to circulate around the vehicle to do inspections or service it. You have to pull it out. There's no separation between on the photo on the right there between the locker area and the apparatus bay. This photo on the left is really, I guess, the decontamination area. You see there's a wash bay. There's, I think that's a extractor there. That really should be in an enclosed space, separated from the apparatus bay, as well as access from the exterior. There's a sleeping arrangement there right next to a furnace. It's worked for many years, but there's much better ways to deal with this in today's day. Fitness room, again, it works, but it's sharing space with other activities, mechanical equipment. As far as the police goes, the police section of the building is about 11,000 or just under 11,000 square feet in space. And a rule of thumb is, number of sworn officers, I think you have 43 or 47, somewhere in that range. 1,000 square feet per officer is what you should really have for an adequate police facility. You're woefully undersized. There's obviously size issues with spaces. There's spaces that are lacking, which we'll highlight here in a minute. There's some acoustical and visual issues between spaces that are not appropriate. Locker rooms are way too small and inadequate for both male and female police officers. The firearms range, there's some ventilation challenges there. Many code deficiencies, you know, that maybe they weren't deficiencies when the building was built. Today's standards, they are. And a lot of the mechanical equipment is really beyond its useful life. You can see the property storage room there on the left. I guess there's some flooding issues in that area as well. Locker rooms, very, very tight. You can barely walk. Well, there's no room for a bench or anything in there. But again, you make do with what you have. It's worked for a while, but it's time for a change. Some office space, detective bureau, very tight. You can see there's a lot of materials and office equipment kind of right in the aisleway where you're supposed to walk. The Sally port is a little undersized for some of at least the van that, I think it's a county van or something that doesn't really fit. So that should be enlarged. A couple of examples of some recent modern facilities, appropriately sized space. Here's an appropriate apparatus bay. You can see there's plenty of space to navigate around a truck or an apparatus. You can lift the cab up. You can, you know, go all around it, wash it, clean it. You see all the appropriate exhaust ventilation tubes there that, you know, it's really what you should have today. PPE locker room, which is separated from the apparatus bay. It's ventilated space. Lots of room in there for storage as well as spare gear. Decontamination spaces, 3 compartment sinks, hose off areas that you really don't have. Again, these are separated spaces that are not attached, or they're adjacent to the apparatus bay, but you can actually access these from the exterior. Fitness and training spaces, so an appropriate fitness room, lighting, ventilation, acoustics, a little room to move around, you know, as well as appreciated. The training space, you know, this could be an appropriate training space that's a dividable room, very flexible. It could be shared between fire and police, as well as the community. Could be used for voting, I suppose. An appropriate locker room. These lockers are actually ventilated lockers. There's an appropriate bench. There's, you know, a lot of room to maneuver. That's really the new standard today's day. This is actually Royal Oak Police Station. Property storage room. You can see there's high density storage units you can use. You can move, you can catalog, and there's a whole sequence of, you know, checking in property and how you store it and sequence it. Your space, you know, it's okay, but should really be a little larger than it is. So we went through a conceptual programming exercise. We worked with both departments, police and fire, and many members of the city, and kind of compared what you currently have in your current facility, Fire Station 2, as well as the police department. And then, you know, there's a detailed document, it's in the report, but this is kind of a high-level summary of the space deficiencies. You can see the current Fire Station number 2 is approximately 5,400 square feet. Our program area is closer to 18,000 square feet. Now that's having appropriately sized apparatus bays, appropriate dorm rooms, and there is some shared space in this number that's shared between both the police and fire departments. So I think the actual plan is slightly less than that, but this is kind of our target square footage when we kind of define each and every space that is planned for this new facility. Same goes for the police station. You're just under 11,000 square feet of space, and we're recommending closer to 39,000 square feet of space. Now that 39,000 square feet actually includes some covered vehicle parking areas as well for the patrol vehicles. I think that's roughly 10,000 square feet of that. So you don't have that now, but 39 is really more like 29,000 square feet versus the 10 or 11. So these are very high-level conceptual diagrams, okay, but we were challenged with, can we fit a police and fire combined facility, public safety headquarters, on this proposed site? And the answer is yes, we can do that. It's not easy, but we can do it. So we've studied the site, the access to the site. Parking is a challenge, so this concept, we actually have underground parking area for the staff, police and fire staff. And there's also a patrol garage, which is on the bottom of the diagram there. So fire would access right out to 9 Mile, kind of how it does now. The apron would be wider than it is, more appropriately sized. You could actually drive through the bay, so you'd come in off of Bonner, you'd come in the back of the station, drive right up to the front, much safer access and exiting. You could choose to back in, I suppose, if you wanted, but this is designed to be a drive-through station. There is a shared public lobby, which is that yellow section right off of 9 Mile. Public parking is there. You come in, you go to either department, police or fire, and there are some shared community type spaces as well in there. Off the back street, which is Troy Street, there's a sally port for bringing in arrestees. You hang a left, you're into the patrol garage. And then the police station is kind of obviously right there. The second concept, this is actually without underground parking, so you can see right on the corner of Bonner and Troy, there's a ramp that goes down. It disappears in this concept. There's a couple convenience parking spaces behind the fire, which would be for shift change when individuals are coming in. If they're going to be there for a long period of time, they're actually going to park underground. But it's kind of for convenience for moving individuals in and out of the building. Concept plan, floor plan, this is the first floor plan. The pinkish areas are really the fire. The blue is the police, and the purple is really the shared space. So the purple section is the main entrance lobby. It's right off of the police and fire. You can make a visit to either side if you'd like. You can see the patrol garage on the bottom of the page. If I can move this mouse here, yeah, right here. So you could come in here and back out. There's, I think, room for 25, something like that, 20, whatever. All the patrol vehicles would fit in there. Sally port off to the right-hand